building your brand with Kate Howe, that's me. So the idea of this is that if you run your business as a ski pro, regardless of whether you're in group lessons or anything, preschool, Bear's Den, private request, whatever it is, if you run that business like a business and you are now the CEO of Ski With Me, Inc., you will have a better time attracting the kinds of clients that you like to work with, and your supervisors will be better able to see who it is that you are and do best match. All right, so we're going to look at those kinds of ideas. So you are now the CEO of Ski With Me Incorporated. That's the idea. So what's the product? It's you. You're the product. So by the end of this session, you are going to have a better understanding of what branding is. We're going to start there. Like, what is a brand? How is it built? Why does it exist in people's minds? And then you're going to have a good understanding of how to make yourself into a brand. It's going to help you understand what your strengths are and where you might need some development. So, in order to do this, I'm going to ask you guys to do some deep, serious, introspective thinking, which is not always fun. But it'll be really helpful. Because when you build your brand, it's really important that your brand is authentic to who you are. We're not trying to turn you into somebody that you're not so that you can attract other people's business. What we want to do is take a little bit of time to really think about, what do I bring to the ski school and know it well? And what do I hope to bring so that you can continue your own development? Okay, so it's going to require some introspection. So let's start with, and we'll get there, don't panic. We're not there yet. Let's start with, what is a brand? So a brand is an idea that we all have about a product. That's it. So for instance, what is this? Coca-Cola. How many people can actually read it? Nobody, right? It's Arabic or Hebrew, I'm not sure which. But yeah, but it's still Coca-Cola and it's recognizable because Coca-Cola is very well branded. Okay, so let's think about, who drinks Coca-Cola? Shout some things out. Who drinks Coke?
Everybody.
Everybody. It's ubiquitous, isn't it? Everybody. You like my handwriting? Except for maybe health nuts, right? No sugar. And they tried to fix that with things like Coke Zero. How'd that work out? Okay, so there it is in real life, Coca-Cola. So Rolling Stone, another really recognizable brand, right? It's so well branded that they don't even have to show you the name of the magazine. It's covered up. But we know that it's Rolling Stone, right? So who reads Rolling Stone?
Young.
Young. What else? What else do we think about people that read Rolling Stone?
Party on.
Party on. What else? Slacker. Artist, thank you. Does anybody ever read like the political commentary? Liberals. Okay, sorry? Yeah, exactly. Okay, and here it is, it's even more covered up, right? You can just see the R, and the logo's in a different color, but we still recognize it. How about this? This is a good example of something that the recognition changes over time, right? So when I was going through my presentation before I did it the last time, and I showed it to my kids, and they didn't know who this was, and they didn't know what that meant, but they knew what this was. This was the part of the brand that they recognized. They're in middle school, so the culture has changed. So before the culture shift happened, back when that guy was cool, what did this say? Who identified with this brand?
Macho.
Macho, yeah. What else? Rugged. Individual. Smokers. Hey, you know who the cowboy appealed to? Non-smoking women. Boy, they did a good job with that one. Sexy! Right? Okay. So, interesting that they were able to reach another demographic so that the non-smoking women would think that the men that smoked that were actually sexy. It's branding. Okay, so what does this company sell? Computers. Does that ad say anything about computers? Is there a computer in it? Does it say what they sell? No, right? So good branding helps you identify with the company. And you know what the product is without them having to spell it out. It takes a while to get there. So who uses this product? Who identifies with this product? Now, everybody, right? Because of music. What kind of people use this product as their primary computer? Hipsters. Liberals. I have a bias in my graphics. Either that or they're better at branding. I don't know which. Okay, little kids. Spreadsheets or art? Art. Okay. Techno geeks like it, right? Mixing movies and stuff like that. Okay. So I looked for ads by the Hostess Company, and this was the ad that I found from 1929, which may explain why we got to here. And I think we should observe a moment of silence because I, for one, am heartbroken. So that's an interesting story about what happens when your marketing doesn't help evolve your brand and it doesn't keep up with changing culture and demographic. But we'll get back to that. How about this? Now, be nice. I just want to say that. Who identifies with this brand? Not liberal. What are those people called? I know there's some in here, come on. Be proud, Republican, conservative. Okay. Conservative. What else do we think about this brand?
Fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced and misinformed. I've heard both of those. Spoon feeding.
Propaganda.
Now we're getting real.
High ratings.
High ratings.
Most people that watch it look at it as
Truth.
Loser.
Okay, news or opinion?
All facts.
So we got both, all fact, news, and opinion. Okay, so I'm just saying, right, it depends on the audience. Weems just said the people that watch it faithfully look at it as truth, right? It depends on the lens you look at it through. How about this? What do we think about the people that identify with this brand? What? Educated? Government supported. There we go. Biased. Okay, good. So now we're hearing from both sides. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys a favor. I'm going to go into another set of brands here. I want you to say what you think. I want you to try to be respectful of the fact that we have both sets of opinions represented in this room, and these are our peers and we work together. So leave space for the other person to hold their opinion, please. But go ahead and say how you feel. We're not attacking each other, we're saying what it is that we think about the brand, because it's important, all right? So we just went through an election, and brand had a lot to do with the result, which was interesting. So just, right, be nice, but honest. Okay, so what do we think about this brand? End of the world, that's nice. Okay, change. Fiscal cliff.
First time I've seen that brand.
Women? Is that what?
Anti-women.
Winner.
Winners.
Equality.
Equality.
Opportunity.
Choice. No choice. Opportunity. Okay, that's interesting. Hip hop. Okay. All right, so now look at this logo, okay, and now let's look at this logo. Which of those two logos appears more contemporary? This one or this one? The first one is a little more contemporary. Okay, so what do we think about when we look at this brand? Money. Traditional. A person. Evil. Anti-choice. Liar. Okay, so we have some ideas associated with a brand regardless of what our political views are, we still are pulled by the brand. Okay, how about this one? Let's go to a happy place. Heaven, is that what I just heard? Okay, shout it out.
The best.
Sunny.
Bike ride.
Sunny. You know your boss is in the room, don't you? Okay, how about this one? Be nice. Now I said be nice. Lots of us have worked there before. Romney? I think we can just leave it at that. Truck stop? Is that what I heard? Truck stop. Okay. The crowns? Crowds. Okay, so my point is that we have, just by looking at the logo and the brand, we have personal feelings about who is identified with that brand. And we have personal feelings about whether or not that would be us, right? Okay, and so how do we get those ideas? We get those ideas through marketing. So the companies that have those brands tell us what to believe about those brands. That's why we identify with them. I mean, do you see how that works? Like it's all a conspiracy.
Or your competitors.
Or their competitors, right? But ideally, the brand is the one informing. But in the case of a celebrity brand or personal brand, or sometimes like in the case of, say, BP, our idea of their brand may have changed pre and post event, right? And ideally, they'll control that brand.
And Kate, you know, our brand is wonderful for us, but when you go out in the real world and you mention the word Aspen, or you see that Aspen logo,
and that's a really good point. Did everybody hear what Amo said? Yeah. He said that our brand is important and beautiful to us, but when you go out into the world and other people hear the word Aspen, they may think of a very different thing. And so you have to know who you're talking to. And you have to know where you're speaking from, and we're going to get to that. That's a really good point. Okay, so branding versus marketing. So it's the difference between the customer's idea about the product and the company's idea about the product. The customer's idea about the product is the brand. That's what makes the brand. The company's idea about the product is the marketing. Okay, so branding is the result of marketing. So brands are the ideas that we have about the products to buy. They help us choose our experience in a world of 8 billion choices. Okay, so when people are overwhelmed with choice, they buy what they remember. And brands help things that are similar seem different and memorable. Does that make sense? All right. So it tells a clear story. Good branding tells a clear story of what the product is, why it's special or different than everything else, what kind of experience you will have when you buy it, and what it means about the person you are when you buy it. And that last one is the one that really resonates. That's how brand loyalty is made. The last one, which is what it means about the person that you are when you buy it. Okay? So, does anybody remember this? The Pepsi Challenge? Okay, so in 1983, Pepsi ran the Pepsi Challenge. So they said, in recent blind taste tests, more than half of Coke drinkers said that they preferred the taste of Pepsi. So what actually happened was that 57% preferred the taste of Pepsi in the taste test, but when you looked at the market share for that same year and the year after, Pepsi had 31% of the market and Coke had 42%. Even though more than half of the Coke drinkers chose Pepsi. So Pepsi won in the taste test, but they still couldn't overtake the market share. What does that say about their brand? Either poor distribution may be part of it. Loyalty, brand loyalty is a huge part of it, right? I'm a Coke drinker. In fact, Coke came out with this button right after that. I picked Coke in the Pepsi Challenge, right? Because they were savvy that way. Okay. On the other hand, you could go for a smaller market share and really go for loyalty. Maybe you're none of those things. Does this say drink Dr. Pepper? No, what does it say? Be a pepper, right? Identify with this group. So does anybody know who this guy is?
Dr. Pepper.
Maybe. Now do you recognize him? Maslow, that's his brand right there. Okay, so be a pepper is this right here. It's right after I gotta pee and don't leave me alone in the parking lot when I'm 4. I want to belong. It's the third most important thing. And that's why branding is so powerful, because it says who you are when you buy the product. I'm a part of this group, not a part of that group. Branding plays to your ego. Okay, so branding is about identity. It's not about the identity of the product. It's about the identity of the user that chooses that product.
Okay?
No, I'm not okay. I have that virus that's going around.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, you better stay back. This one's a doozy.
That's okay, I'll be fine.
No, do not be a hero. Last year there were 114,000 known viruses for PCs.
PCs, not Macs. So you just grab this one.
I think I got a crash.
Okay, if you feel like that'll help, good.
Brilliant ad campaign, right? So what did they do? They personified the products, right? And through that personification of the two awesome comedians that worked on that, you know, one of them, the PC, is what, prone to virus, stuck in a suit, has to work all the time, and then we've got like the hip guy that's immune to getting sick and not too concerned and everything's chill. Who do you want to be? Okay, so that, again, identification. So what kind of observations are these that we're making? Are they quantifiable data? No. Are they subjective or objective?
Subjective.
Subjective, completely subjective. So this is why it's so tricky to win in the game of branding. Because the game is about being able to read people's subjective needs and create something that they want to be loyal to. So what does this mean for a ski pro? Do you see all those red coats in that picture? There are 1,200 of us. And we look the same. And we do a very similar job. And it's not necessarily that one of us is better at it than the other. But if you want to create repeat business, or roll a person from the group into a private, or have your supervisor understand what group you click really well with so that you're constantly with that kind of group but still working with everyone, understanding what your brand is going to help. All right, so you are different and memorable. But what we don't want to do is be something that you're not. You want to be different and memorable within your own brand. So, okay, ski instructor, right? He's PSIA level 1. Is he 3 now? Wow, okay, so he's level 1 last year. That's awesome.
Got it on the first try.
I'm shocked. Okay, but is he special and different compared to the 1,800 gazillion of us out there, right? So he's branded himself, hasn't he? Okay, the man with the mohawk. Okay, so maybe this is your brand. It doesn't only have to be that. Maybe this is your brand. It's funny, but it's applicable, right? Do you know how many billions of cans of Ensure were sold last year? And not just to an elderly population, right? So there's room for both. The market share last year for Red Bull grew. 4 years ago, these numbers were really different. 4 years ago, this number was $17.6 million. And this number was like 2.7 billion. So the market share for Ensure was larger a couple of years ago. Nutri-Med drinks are going down, but it's interesting to see. There's definitely room for both. So the question is, do you need to be like the hip subculture niche? Maybe that's not who you are authentically. It's not about picking what's cool, it's about understanding who you are and bringing that. So, okay, if anybody goes back, is he here? If anybody goes back to John Phillips and tells him that I put up a picture of him after Ensure, I will be really upset with you because it's not, don't do it.
He's on the Red Bull side.
Right? This is John Phillips. Who's this? Greg Harms. Do they have the same clientele? No. No. But they know who they ski, but I'm sure that they would both ski with anyone. right? Gladly, because they like to go take people skiing. Who are they happiest with? Who do they connect the best with? And who comes back to them over and over again? The people that understand what their brand is, and they have branded themselves within the ski school well. So here's where we're going to do some of the tough work. Because we are people with personal connections and relationships, our brand needs to be authentic. Otherwise, people will see right through it, and that will not build loyalty. So we need to be willing to look in the mirror, and so that you can make a conscious choice about what people see when they choose you as a brand. Or not. You can just choose to, you know. A couple things may come up as you do this introspective work. They are ego, humility, and pride. And we'll go through them really quickly so that we're all talking about the same thing. That's not actually ego, although lots of people think that it is when people say, oh, your ego came up or whatever, or you have an ego. We all have an ego. Our ego is sort of what identifies us. So if I'm a person that likes to wear blue toenail polish and toe rings, who would I be if I didn't wear blue toenail polish and toe rings? How would I know who I was? Does that make sense? So it's our internal brand, our own ego to ourselves. It's things that we believe about ourselves that represent to us who we are. And lots of time, that framework, that concept gets in the way of you seeing yourself as other people see you. And it can be really compromising to you developing as a person. How do you know when your ego has come up? You can tell your ego has come up because you feel it. It comes up as feelings of pride or shame. It comes up like a shield to protect you when your idea of who you are is challenged. So I recently had a very lovely conversation with my friend here. And boy, did I spend all 2 hours trying to take my ego and put it on the ground so I could hear what he was saying. It's very difficult. But you learn more, ultimately. It can be a painful process. It doesn't have to be a painful process, but it's a very important process. So if you feel that coming up while you're doing this work, recognize that that may be the place to look. Right? I have a friend who says, you are right where you need to be to learn the lesson that you need to learn. And the lesson that you need to learn is not always pleasant or comfortable. Sorry. All right, so humility is a willingness to learn from everyone in the room, to find teachers in the most unexpected places, to push your ego aside, to be willing to hear it. It doesn't mean you have to believe everything that's said to you. It means you have to be willing to hear it. That's all. That's humility, or one piece of it. Discomfort is that awkward situation where you're not real sure how to behave. No. I just really liked that picture. Discomfort is a good indicator that you're on the right track. I mean, these guys might not be on the right track, but I'm not going to judge. But it's an indicator that you're in an area that you're sensitive to. And that is something to follow. Let fear and discomfort be your teacher. If you willingly walk toward it, you may discover some really interesting things that make change happen like that. If it's hard to do, have a friend sit next to you while you're doing it. Sometimes they'll just push you right over the edge. All right, so this will happen. Danger, danger, klaxon alarms sound. If this does happen, you can just say to yourself, okay, you know, ego, thank you very much, I appreciate it, and you can come back in if it's really dangerous. Have I really set this up enough that we're all really nervous now? Okay, let's get to it. So defining your brand, does everybody have a piece of paper? If you need a piece of paper and a pencil, let's pass these around really quick. Anybody need pencils? Are coming around? We're going to use these later, so you might as well just take one and pass it on. So let's first define our brand. Who are you as a person? So write down 6 words or phrases that define the customer's experience with you. So for instance, for me, I would say that the customers feel, when they ski with me, connected, safe, and athletic. And they may also experience surprise, tough love, and a little push through or breakthrough. That was sort of some of the work that I did on my brand. So pick your 6 words that define you, and go ahead and write those down. 6 words or phrases. Here's my sample, if you guys get lost. So by the end of this session, you guys should be able to define your brand in 1 sentence. You can't really define your brand until, you can't really build your brand, I'm sorry, until you define it, right? If you don't know what it is that you're selling, it's really hard to build a brand around it. So that's why we're gonna do some of this work. Once you have defined it, then you can work on making sure that you actually deliver it. So good branding, and we'll keep coming back to this exercise, good branding continually evolves. If the product doesn't continually evolve, the marketing better. So if you don't pay attention to your brand, your consumer, and how you need to evolve your brand so that the customer wants to continue to identify it with it, the brand will die. So here's Apple evolving its brand over the years. Here is Hostess, not. So Hostess was in trouble before the baker strike. Before the Twinkie died, not necessarily because of the baker strike, but it did not do any, it didn't evolve its product, right? So if it doesn't evolve its product, it's got to evolve its marketing in order to keep somebody identifying with its brand, all right? And if you don't, then you don't cultivate a new audience to stay with the brand. So, you know, they could have done a couple of different things, right? Johnny Maguire's, that would have changed it. They could have done this, right? Twinkies for hipsters. Okay, or they could have done a non-sugar, holistic herbal, I don't think that would have worked. Okay, so how does that apply to a ski pro? If you are not continually evolving your teaching methods and your understanding of skill and your understanding of technique and your understanding of technology, then your demographic that's loyal to you will age with you, but you will never gain new customers. It's very difficult, okay? Because the product is evolving, the industry is evolving, and you are the product, and if you don't evolve with it, you're gonna be a dinosaur. So this right here is Neil Landy. He is great at his brand. He is a group pro in Snowmass. His favorite group to work with are 7 to 14-year-old kids who rip. That's his brand identity. That's who he sparkles with, that's who he shines with, that's who he most loves to ski with. He skis with lots and lots and lots of different age groups, but that's his favorite. And because his coordinators know that about him, he's often matched with that, and they have the best time together. So that's why it's important within a group lesson organization as well, because then you can help your coordinator out. They understand who you are. So the future of your company, which is you, and of course your bottom line, depends on you evolving, your brand evolving over time. That's why we're doing this. So through introspection and research, which is what we just started to do with those 6 words about our customers, we establish our brand. Then you build brand awareness by marketing yourself. Then through more introspection and research, you reestablish your brand, and you just keep going around. And if you don't continue that cycle, you get lost, and someone else takes your customers. They're happy to do it. Okay, so let's go back to our activity. So defining your brand. Write down 6 words or phrases that define the customer who identifies themselves as a user of you as the product. So again, I did an example for you. So customers who ski with me in my little cluster are generally type A. They like to be pushed. They're willing to dig. They're adventurous. They're unsure of their potential, and they're strongly motivated by performance improvements. That's my core group. That's what my brand, those are the customers that identify most strongly with my brand. So you guys go ahead and define your brand. Who are the customers that have the best time with you, that connect in the deepest level with you? So this is how you figure out who your ultimate customer is, right? By going through these two things. So we said that marketing is what the company tells the customer what to believe about the brand, right? That's kind of what marketing is. And I'm going to do another talk on marketing strategies, which is separate from branding, but it's difficult to complete. They don't exist in isolation, just like the skiing skills don't. So we're going to touch on it briefly here. Okay. So what marketing does is it defines the brand's audience. It targets that audience specifically. It speaks to that audience in a way that feels personal. And it speaks to the audience in a way that they can hear. And those are really, so I'm going to repeat that again because those are really important points to understand when you do go out and purposely market yourself as a pro. Good marketing defines the brand's audience, targets that audience specifically, speaks to the audience in a way that feels personal, and speaks to the audience in ways that the audience can hear. What's your delivery method? So age-old marketing strategy is called WIFI, which means what's in it for you? And advertising firms ask this question all the time. So what's in it for you if you drink this, right? If you drink this, even if you drink it when you're broke in a bar in Red Lodge, Montana in the middle of February, who's from Montana? It says that what's in it for you is that you have leisure time, you're beautiful, you like to relax on the beach, and you're in love. That's what it says. That's WIFI. That's what's in it for you. That's how you use marketing to define brand. It's one of the ways. That's where they're interchangeable. Oh, that was me typing fast, probably. That's part of my brand. No. Okay, so good marketing is relevant, targeted, and contemporary to the group. Okay, so politics aside completely, I listened a lot and read a lot after the election about why the results happened the way that they happened. Like, how did this occur? And one of the things that was really interesting was that Obama's campaign and Romney's campaign used very different marketing strategies to boost their brand. Romney's campaign talked a lot afterward about the fact that they missed the developing base. They did blanket advertising to the existing base. Obama's campaign looked very carefully at who was emerging as the new base, and they found small groups and targeted them specifically, and the power of that marketing was strong enough to overcome the old broad base. Really interesting. Politics aside, did we miss that point? Okay, so let's look again. So here is blanket marketing. Okay, who gets these in the mail? Who has ever used one? There you go. I used one for carpet cleaning once, but how many do you get? You can't even start your fire with them. They're all waxy, right? You can't light them on fire. Okay, so they're not even good for that. This direct marketing, 1 in 1,000 responses, and it's expensive. Check this out. This picture was posted on Facebook in 10 hours. You can see it up there. 10 hours ago, it got 3,131,460 likes in 10 hours and 375,094 shares. This is a contemporary way to deliver a message. A lot of people don't like social media, but it's there. So as you build your brand and you decide how you're going to market your brand, you need to look at what are contemporary ways of marketing. You don't have to do this, but you do need to be aware of it and what it does. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is an ad, right? If you're, yeah. What, Kerm? No? Ask me after?
That's a complicated question.
Okay.
I've had a lot of issues.
That's okay. I'm here for you. Just know that. Okay. So we're going to stay with branding right now instead of going into marketing because that would be distracting. Did I give everybody enough time to look at my ad? Okay. There's more marketing coming. So if you're interested in marketing strategies and what marketing means, you can come to the marketing strategies thing that we'll do later. It's on the training website. Okay, so let's do the next part of the activity, which is what is my brand right now? how do guests perceive me? This is that introspective work. Really, how do guests perceive you? What is it that they see? The more honest that you can be, the better. And this, by the way, is a great exercise for you to do in ski school with your peers. How do you get a couple people that you trust together? How do you guys really see me? I know how I see myself now. How do you see me? It's a really good exercise to do with your supervisors. The next part of that question is, what am I working on to change that perception? The answer may be nothing yet, because we just did this, right? You may not see the disparity between how you see yourself, which was the first question, and what are you working on to change how other people see you. But if you know what it is, like, I know that I'm competent, but sometimes I'm seen as egotistical. Like, if you can see that disparity, what are you working on to change that perception so that other people's perception matches up with your understanding of who you are and what your brand is? Yeah? Okay, so we're gonna do, last time I gave this talk, I had people do this in groups together, and it was a little bit tender, it was a little bit difficult. So we're gonna do an exercise up here instead of making a reality check happen in this room, okay? But you all have quizzes that just got passed out. And I would encourage you after this to take this quiz and get together 3 or 4 people and do some testing and see, did the quizzes not come around? Did you guys get? They were like, there's like a little half sheet of paper that started. It looks like this. Weems has one. Where are they? There's a pile of them somewhere. You might be writing on the back of it. There were 100 of them. There they are. Keep them moving. Okay, here they come. Okay, so what I would really recommend to you guys is get a couple people together and do this activity with trusted friends after we do it here. So we're going to do it here first so that you know how it works. So first impressions are really important. People judge you whether you like it or not. And what people are judging when you're in a professional situation is your brand. How are you perceived? Some of the things that inform that perception are things like how you dress. Do you make eye contact? What is your hair like? And they will judge how competent you are based on whether you tuck your shirt in or not, right? When I meet a new client who works for a Fortune 500 company, I keep my sleeves down because if I roll them up, they might think I'm radical. When I'm with a group of my peers that I want to think I'm cool, I pull my sleeves up so they can see my mad ink. I'm just kidding. But do you see what I'm saying? So it's a thank you. It's a perception thing, right? And you have to be aware of that. Okay, so here, we're going to rate this dude right here. All right, so on a scale of 1 to 4, we don't know this guy. On a scale of 1 to 4, how capable do you think he is? 4 being really capable. Shout it out.
3.
4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 4, 2. 4. Capable. Just, it's like it's that a gut intuitive capable of what is a good question. Okay. It's up to you to answer that question, right? How capable is he? Probably at his job. So, okay, trustworthy. How trustworthy is he? 1 to 4, 4 being the highest. 4, trustworthy. Anyone else? 4, 3, 2. Somebody doesn't like him in the back.
How can you make a judgment on a guy like that? Just by looking at him?
That is a great question. That's 2 for you, Amo Goldstone.
Could be all.
We shouldn't.
No idea.
Right? We shouldn't, should we? But we do. But we do. And maybe not you. Maybe you are self-aware enough to know better than to judge. I mean, lots of us that work in this industry understand that people shouldn't be judged. But do know that people are judging you, whether you're judging them or not. And what you bring is why they're judging you. And they judge you in this moment, and then they judge you in this moment. And the first impression is the strongest. So when you're standing out there in your uniform, and people are walking up and you're like, hi, I'm gonna be your son's ski instructor today. They're like, Right? They just made all these judgments that we're going through here. And that's the point of this exercise, is to show you that your brand is on trial, basically. And if you understand what influences that brand, when the brand is a person, when the brand is you, you have the power over how they judge you to some extent. But you're not going to be able to understand how to change those perceptions unless you do this internal work and are really willing to see, you know, I found out the other day that someone in my locker room has always thought of me as a dingbat. Thanks, Kerm. No, but it was funny because it didn't hurt my feelings, because I don't think I'm a dingbat. But it came back to me and I thought, well, that's an interesting perception that I did not have about myself and I really didn't know was out there. And I went and I found the person, I sat down, we had a conversation, and it was interesting. But I had to be willing to hear that, as opposed to being like, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, like, obviously that perception is out there somehow. What part of that did I own? And having it be out there, maybe none of it. Maybe he's the dingbat. How humble do we think this guy is? 1 to 4, 4 being the highest. Wah, wah, wah. Anybody else? 1. You think he's humble? 3? Okay, so yeah, lower on the humility maybe? How about caring? How caring? 4 is high. 2. Okay, so when we look at this dude, we think of him as capable and trustworthy, maybe not so humble, kind of caring. How did we as a group come to that consensus? How do we know this? We don't know this guy, right? Well, exactly. It's an individual reaction to the picture that other people have. Okay, how about this guy?
Stated, and I was confused, and now I understand.
Good. It's something that occurs because we're people, and people that are more self-aware tend to do it less, but not at all. Okay, so capable, 1 to 4. 4, higher. Okay, trustworthy, 1 to 4. 1. What about this guy says he isn't trustworthy? That's okay, Amo, go with it. I got your point. I got your point and it was well taken, okay? For real. Humble. How humble do we think he is? 2. Caring? 1. All right, so he's really capable, not very trustworthy, not very humble, and not very caring. Do we think the sunglasses and the facial hair have something to do with that? I don't know, maybe. He might be the nicest guy in the world, I don't know. I love this guy. How capable is this guy? Huh? 10? He's so capable. How trustworthy is this guy? Wah, wah, wah. All right? Okay, so the point is, take this exercise back. Know that it's about perception. And do it, if you want to, with a group of people that you trust. And you're gonna have them rate you, and then you're gonna rate yourself. And you're gonna compare how your perception compares to reality, or their perceived reality. My little sister did this, and she gave me permission to tell this story because she's really excited for you guys to do this. She runs an online knitting business called knitfreedom.com. There's her advertisement. Thank you very much. Got it in. And she makes knitting videos, and she teaches people how to knit. It is essential that she is seen as capable, caring, trustworthy, and honest in order for people to want to buy her product. So she did a blanket survey to her entire base of like 9,000 people at the time and sent out a photograph of herself and this survey. And she got back that she was capable and that she was honest, but that she wasn't very trustworthy and she wasn't very caring. And her survey went a little bit more into depth, and she discovered that it was the way that she was dressing. It was the way that she was accessorizing, like her earring choice, her jewelry choice was the thing that was where she was missing there. And she made that change, and her sales changed on her page. She's not true to herself in what earrings she wears. She's aware of what her choice, how her choice affects how people perceive her. Does that make sense? She still wears big earrings when she goes dancing. She does not wear them when she takes her picture for her. She wears different earrings that are smaller, but are still her. So, take this home. If you're willing to do the work, you'll learn a lot about who you are and how your brand is perceived. And that is about what piece can you own. Are you humble enough to hear this? from yourself and from other people? Are you really willing to do that work and grow into the amazing person, the amazing brand that you can be? Can you let other people see your qualities, your brand, because you're willing to do this work, or not? So now, what do you want your brand to be? So write one sentence down that defines the brand of you in the future. It can be more than one sentence, but eventually you want it to be distilled into one sentence. So for me, in the future, I want to be an expert coach who helps clients break plateaus and shift paradigms, reveal their inner athlete. I want my clients to feel that each lesson is about them and their progress, and not about me and my knowledge. That's my future brand, that's where I'm going. And now with all these pieces that we've done, we begin to develop a roadmap of who we want to become as a pro in this industry and in this company. So go ahead and take a second and do this. What do you want your brand to be? So the tricky part is getting from here to there, right? We have a couple of pieces that we've gone through: how we perceive ourselves, who we think we are, who we'd like to have identify with us, who identifies with us now, and how we'd like to change that. How are we perceived? Who do we want to become? So getting from here to there means looking at these pieces and developing it over time. Recognize also that you are a brand within a brand. If you don't want to do this work, you don't have to. You are safe within the brand of Aspen Snowmass. They've written a roadmap for you. We have guiding principles. You can follow those. You are a ski instructor that works for SkiCo. That's a brand. You can stay there. That's okay. Recognize as you develop your internal brand that your internal brand, because it's attached to this company, needs to follow those guiding principles also, because we're working as a brand within a brand, right? And SkiCo and us, we are within the brand of the town of Aspen. Come ski here, come stay here. That's within the brand of come to Colorado, which is within the brand of let's go skiing. So each individual piece, as it's built and carefully considered, makes the whole much stronger. So, in conclusion, thank you, first of all, for listening, for staying late, and for being willing to do the hard work. Know that when you take an honest look at yourself, even if it's not for your brand, you have an amazing ability to grow as a person. And this will affect your other relationships outside of your work relationships, and it's a nice opportunity. Thanks very much, you guys.